Alright, so I have touched on this subject in earlier videos, but I felt like it was worthwhile revisiting. So, what is UX? Well, UX stands for user experience, and it's pretty self-explanatory. User experience is the experience that a user has with a particular product or service. Let's take Spotify as an example. The UX of Spotify incorporates everything from how you first discovered Spotify. Did someone send a song to you on Facebook? Did you see a poster or did you read about them online? And then how did you actually go about creating an account? Did you go to their website? Did you download the app? And what was that experience like? All the way through to things like being locked out of your account and how you deal with their support. Was that a good experience? Were they helpful? Were they friendly? Through to actually canceling your account and canceling your payment. All of these different and disparate touch points really add up and add to or subtract from a user's experience with Spotify. And this is kind of the basis of UX design. How can the designers or how can the people at Spotify better design and create these experiences so that you as a user feel special and more likely to stay with and recommend Spotify as a product? But where did UX come from? It hasn't been around forever, and in fact it's only really been called or dubbed UX in the past kind of 5 to 10 years. Before UX, there was this thing called HCI, or Human Computer Interaction. And this was a term which originated in the 80s through a book called The Psychology of Human Computer Interaction. The term HCI addresses the fact that unlike a single purpose tool such as a hammer, a computer actually has multiple use cases and takes place in an open-ended dialogue between a user and the computer. This notion of a dialogue existing between the user and the computer is kind of likened to the dialogue that humans have when interacting with other humans. And this is an analogy that has become central to the field of HCI. The notion that humans are interacting and conversing with their devices, their computers, their apps, and their services and products. But as you can probably tell already, the theory behind UX is slightly different from HCI. UX feels far more broader concept than HCI, which feels more focused on our interactions with a device. But there's another concept grounded in UX that we're neglecting. A concept that UX is often compared to and confused with: customer experience, or CX. I don't know a whole lot about CX, but from what little I do know, it is very similar to our earlier description of UX, where CX is the experience that a customer has with a product or service. Confused yet? Good, so am I. Look, I honestly don't know which came first, CX or UX, and I don't think it matters. What does matter is how UX has changed and evolved over the past few years. Sadly, it feels like UX has kind of stepped away from that holistic experience model we talked of earlier and has become far more grounded in digital products and services and the experience that users or customers or people are having with those digital products or services. But as a UX designer, you will soon learn that the way your users experience your product or service goes far deeper and further than simply your website or your app. And this is insanely important. It doesn't matter what your title is. Everyone, and I mean everyone at your company, is responsible in one shape or form for the experience that a user has with your product or service. And it's your job to advocate this, to teach and empower and enable others at your company to think about the experience from the user's perspective. As a UX designer or CX designer or HCI designer or product designer, interaction designer, whatever you want to call yourself, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're a designer, and it's your job to design a better experience for your users, however you achieve that. Alright, thanks for listening. I hope this kind of gives us all a starting place for this conversation on UX design. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions to ask or comments to add to this conversation. Thanks again, and I will see you all next week.